Sorry.
I want to start with where I think we should start after where last night ended for us. So I want to have a rational conversation about Michigan State basketball and Tyson Walker and the roster in general. The discussion of player development and did players get better at Michigan State? Last night at the beginning of our recap, I asked you point blank, did anyone get better on this team? My intention was that you would answer that with an obvious, like, no, nobody did. And instead you answered with a Tyson Walker did. I got very confrontational with you. That's on me. Hand up. I apologize. I should not have. I have no excuse for it other than I was watching my team melt down in the process of trying to record. And honestly, I just had a one-track mind of like, I knew where I wanted to go with the conversation and didn't feel like pretending that Tyson Walker's not part of the conversation, because I think the drop in three-point shooting is a massive element of why this team is struggling, even if he's better in other areas. Let me start by saying this. Tyson Walker, at worst, is the same player he was last year. Like, I don't think he's a worse shooter, even though the shots aren't going in. He's definitely better at finishing through contact. His 2-point percentage is up. He's taking more shots. He's more efficient. Like, he is doing all he could possibly do, all Michigan State fans could possibly ask of him to try and will this team to victories, minus some open shots going in. That's not a worse basketball player. So that's me being overreactive and confrontational. I apologize for that. With that said, I also would not say he's gotten better. I think he's the same guy as last year. So I wanted to revisit this and have a rational discussion about it, starting with Tyson Walker, now that we've both had one night's sleep in us, and then expand it broader to the rest of the guys as well. Do you think that's the fair conclusion we can agree on with Tyson?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, to come to the conclusion that I think Tyson is, given the situation, the same basketball player that he was last year. But also I think when you say that, then you say he's the same basketball player as last year, but he regressed so far in 3-point shooting and free throw line, which I feel like we're overlooking a lot. Like, currently he's shooting like 60-something% from the free throw line.
He's missed 11 free throws this year. He missed 13 all of last season.
Yeah, which is just crazy to me, which also takes me to a point where I think something is just a little bit like either fatigue or mentally. I mean, we've always had the conversation on this podcast about good free throw shooters and how sometimes you got to be like, dude, just go up there and hit them. You're a good free throw shooter. And he's not doing that. I think where the pushback comes from me, and say what you want about this, maybe it's the fandom in me, because I watched Tyson go out there and basically try to carry this team. I maybe give him somewhat of a leeway in the fact that he's not hitting as many 3-point shots or not as good from the free throw line. But when you look at it just straight on, honestly, I can't completely push back that Tyson is at worst a worse player. I would just like want to come to a medium that I think that Tyson Walker is probably the same player that he was last year.
Yeah, I think that's a happy medium. And I think if in the moment you and I had both like quickly said the same, I think we wouldn't have gotten in the 10-minute argument we got in last night where I was a total dick to you. But like, I understand why you're going to bat for your guy. I think like in the moment, it's okay to try and say like, he's gotten better. He's scoring 20 a game. Like, he's doing everything he possibly can. I just truly believe like after 2 weeks of his misses, it was like, he's going to start making shots. Now it's a month into the season. He's not making shots. And like, we talked about it at first, like the shot attempts are tougher. They're not going in. Last night, they weren't necessarily tougher. Like, he had open looks he wasn't hitting. And then he went crazy in the second half, and Michigan State suddenly looked good. So, like, it speaks to how much pressure's on him. But I just, like, he's got to make shots.
Yeah, do you think that something's, like, up?
Well, I think with Jaden, the Y word, I think, applies. Like, Jaden looks clearly like he has the yips.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking like Tyson, like, is he like not feeling good or you think he's just missing? Like, what, we got to stop like trying to overanalyze it. He's just missing shots.
I think he's just missing. And I think, again, I think he is as good of a shooter as he was last season. But at a certain point, a 42% shooter can't be making 29% of his shots and have us frame him as if he improved. Like it just, which is why, like, if we say he's the same guy, I'm perfectly okay with that. Because by the way, last year, Tyson Walker was a first team All Big Ten player. He was awesome. Like,
Yeah.
he's one of the best guards in the country. He still is that. I just have a huge problem. Like, if he starts making threes, by the way, like I said this in the Discord, but if he starts making like 36, 37% of his threes and still stays as good as he is from 2-point range, then we can absolutely say he got better. But you can't go from one of the best shooters in the country to not even making 30% of your shots and tell me this guy improved from a first team All Big Ten play. It's just tough. Same guy, I'm fine with that. The broader thing is like, did anybody else? And do you have, we don't need to go guy by guy because I think we know where we stand. Like the answer is pretty much no, except for Trey Holloman, right? And maybe Carson Cooper slightly. But why do you think this is the case? Do you think there's something institutionally wrong with Michigan State's ability to develop players right now? Or do you think this is just on the players themselves and it's the roster?
Is it a cop out to say both, or do I gotta like pick one side?
It's not a cop out.
All right, well, because I think there's equal blame to go around in this case. I think that player development is a huge part of college basketball, especially guys that are in a program for a certain amount of years. And I think it's always fair to expect a player that has the resources and the time and all the ability to improve their game and do better things, to expect them to improve, and that staff are put in place and guys are paid money to push those guys along and ensure that those guys do that. So it's equal blame to me both ways, but it is alarming the amount of players that have regressed. I think you can go through any college team and it's impossible for every guy to stay the same or improve. You're always going to be able to find one guy who has regressed or not gotten good. That's the nature of college basketball. It's the nature of college athletes. It's alarming to me that there are so many on this team that have regressed and gotten worse in my eyes. So it's like, it is something that's concerning to me in both parties. And that's kind of why I come to the point where I'm like, I want to blame the staff, but at the same time, I don't know. I just kind of expect guys, I guess, to have like the wherewithal or the drive to improve, especially like after underachieving like your whole career, basically. Like that, like we look to the upperclassmen in this team, in this class. Isn't there a point where you're kind of like, damn, I'm tired of this? Like, is this the way I want to go? And honestly, then maybe they're okay with it. Like, yeah, I got my 4 years. I got to play. I had some good games. We made the tournament. We did that. We got to a Sweet 16. It was great. I had a good time. I never had to wait in line at Fieldhouse. Everything's okay. But like, where's the, I don't know, like, maybe it's not regression, maybe it's complacency. I don't know what word you want to use, but I think it is a concern.
I would love to know. I don't think AJ Hoggard would have said he views him as an underachiever through 3 years at Michigan State. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but my perception is AJ Hoggard thinks he's achieved a lot.
I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, there's not a lot of self-awareness of where things are at, given the way he talked in the offseason. But yeah, I had some people like in our mentions this morning tweeting me like, you can't say these guys haven't gotten better. Look what AJ Hoggard did as a freshman and look what he is now. My issue is looking like a guy that's good as a junior should not be significantly worse as a senior. A guy who's good as a sophomore should not be significantly worse as a junior. And that's what has happened to AJ Hoggard and Jay Nakins. And it makes no sense to me at all. And again, maybe it's too many cooks in the kitchen. But I believe both those guys, like at their core, are productive basketball players. And they're giving this team nothing right now. And you're right. It's not just a Michigan State specific thing. I want to be clear on that. I think this roster is unique that like nobody seems to have taken a leap to be ready. Like if Carson Cooper was actually a starting center, that would help this team a ton. Like if Malik Hall was the guy he was in conference play his freshman year pre-injury, that would help this team a ton. If Jaden was who he was last year, it would help this team a ton. Like Just collectively, none of them are. And you can point to my program. Like Terrace Reed did not get better at all. If anything, he got worse in a bigger role. So this isn't Michigan State unique, but Michigan does have one guy who did get a lot better, and it hasn't helped the team. They're 4-5. They have a worse record than Michigan State. But
you got 3 guys on your team that have gotten better.
It's one of those things where I would like to see it. And I think you have to go back to Aaron Henry for like a Michigan State recruit who has really done that. Tyson obviously has gotten better, but Tyson was also a good player at Northeastern. Joey Hauser has got better at Michigan State by a lot. He was also a good player at Marquette. So like it's tough. Like Gabe Brown had half a season, I think, where he looked better. You would like to see more guys in this little 4-year window where they've lost a lot of games that are.
I would kill for a Gabe Brown jump out of some of these guys. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I feel fair saying that, okay, maybe Gabe Brown didn't like get astronomically better, but I think that Gabe Brown left a better player than he came in. There's going to be some players that leave Michigan State that are going to be like, as my career arc, I might have had some spikes as a junior year where I got better, but there's also a world where I leave here as I did not, and I did not leave this place better than I was when I came in.
Yeah, leave it better than you found it. That's always the goal. Tough. But yeah, let me just wrap this by saying, have to make it unequivocally clear. Tyson Walker is not even 1% of the problem for Michigan State. That is not an issue whatsoever. And if I led anyone to believe I think Tyson is part of the problem with this team, I apologize. It was an emotional reaction. It was me being confrontational for no reason. Tyson is not the problem at all. It's everybody around him. And hopefully it works out.